Well, look what the cat dragged in. This is a Sony MZ1 Minidisc player. This is the first Minidisc player, and I apologize for the appearance of this thing. I've had this thing since it was new. It's been through a war. I used to carry it around in my car. It used to get banged around, thrown around. This was really heavily used, this unit here. This was my first Minidisc recorder. This was the first Minidisc recorder that Sony had, which is rare enough to have that, but to also have the companion MZ2P, which is another rare beast. This is the playback only equivalent of this one here. See, the cat did drag these in. You can hear the cat in here. Let's just see if they work, okay? This one says charging on the screen, so I have a feeling that it's working. And wouldn't you know, there's a disc already in it. It works. So the MZ1 works. I don't need to do anything to the MZ1. Maybe we'll show you inside the thing, but this one works. But I have a feeling that this one here may need some work done on it. So we'll just plug in this other one and see whether this one works. This disc was actually found in this player, and as you can hear, this one has a problem. It won't load the disc. So I think what we'll do is we'll take this one apart and we'll see if we can figure out why this one's not loading a disc, so that I will have a pair of players that work. This other one actually has a battery in it. I've had the battery on charge for a few minutes. I have no idea whether the battery is actually going to take a charge or not, but it kind of looks like it is. Nope, maybe not. Although I only, to give it credit, I only put it on charge for about 5 minutes. So maybe if I put this thing on charge and we'll charge it up and see whether the battery actually will take a charge while we're working on the other one here. Be kind of cool if it would. I don't have a battery for the second one. I don't know what happened to the battery on this one, or whether I never had a battery, or whether it got lost, or whether I loaned it to somebody else. I say I just happened to find these players while I was going through an old box of stuff out in my storage unit, and I had looked for these things before because I knew I had them. I just couldn't find them after doing some work on the house and putting stuff away about a dozen years ago. And just by coincidence, I was looking through a box, and lo and behold, there they were. So let's see what this one looks like inside. As you can see, my helper is here. What do you got on your nose? My helper is here to help diagnose the problem on here. So to crack this thing open, there's a bunch of little teeny tiny screws that have to come out. I don't know if I've ever been into one of these things before, but we'll certainly test the other one out and see if it's capable of recording as well. As we know it plays back, but I don't know if it records. One thing that's neat about these units here is on the side, these connectors were combination coaxial and digital. They were optical, digital, as well as the analog outputs. So it was kind of neat. There was a special cord that you had to buy from Sony, which I don't have, because it was ridiculously expensive at the time, and of course now you'd never find one, but I never bothered with that cord. But there was a cord available at the time that would allow you to plug it in to your CD player, for example, and make a, well, it's not a bit for bit perfect copy. That is only DAT that can do that. Minidisc had a lossy compression system, so what you got out was never what went in. So the optical connector on Minidisc was kind of, you know, well, there was no point because it didn't improve the sound over just plugging in the analog. And I dare anybody to try and say that they can hear the difference, because Minidisc was inferior in sound to a CD and a DAT tape. It was a great idea, and it was an early version of compression, which evolved into MP3. I think even MP3 has better sound quality than the ACT track compression that was used on these things. We're going to pop off the bottom of this one now, just so I can see where the there's the shock mount. Right, the mechanisms are all on a shock mount to take out bumping it around a bit. I'm just looking for the motor that loads and unloads the disc. I actually got the disc in on this thing, but now it won't come back out. So I guess I have to open up the circuit board. And again, I've never been inside one of these things before. So this is the first for me, so bear with me as I figure out what screws I have to take out. Obviously they're going to be the arrow mark screws, as Sony did that with all of their products, which was kind of nice. Just remove all the screws with the arrow and leave the other ones in. Removing the screws, the circuit board just kind of tilts out of the way and we can see the mechanism. And I'm just looking to see what type of length of cables I've got here, because some of these ribbon cables are pretty short. I see some little gears in here. It's going to take a look at the loading mechanism and see how it works. Okay, the motor's in here. This one here over here appears to be the one that drives the laser back and forth, and this motor over here is the one that loads and unloads the disc. So let's press the eject button and see what happens. Ah, it's stripping. Appears that we may have a flat spot on one of these gears. I guess you can probably see that going on there, right? That's not good. Let's just take a look at this gear here. See whether there's something that's jammed or broken. But it looks to be the problem. Looks to be inside this little mechanism here. This is what controls the loading and unloading of the mechanism itself. I wonder how easy this is going to be to take this apart. Watch me remove a couple screws here and have everything fall apart. Wouldn't that be something? With my luck, that's exactly what's going to happen too. So I got to disassemble. I got to take the board out, because if I want to get into this thing, I got to free up some space. One thing you have to do on these laser assemblies before you unplug the laser assembly, we actually have to put a little short across this terminal right here that's not focusing. But these little solder pads down here, we're just going to put a little short of solder across there. What that does is that shorts out the laser diode to protect it from, looking at that, that's just reflections, the switch. Protect it from static discharge while you're working on it. So if you're working on any of these laser assemblies, you've got to disconnect them from the circuit. You got to put this little jumper in place first, as per the service manual. We just put a little bit of solder on there to solder it together. I think it's done. Yep. Now my laser diode is safe, and I can now disconnect the connector and unplug it. Now I can remove the board. Now I can work on the chassis itself without fear of damaging any of the ribbon cables, because my problem is in this gear pack down here somewhere. We have gears that are slipping. Could be a strip gear, could be a crack gear. If that's the case, I might be screwed, but let's just see if I can get this thing apart and work on it. I think maybe if I push up here on these little plastic tabs, I may be able to lift this whole assembly out. And if I can lift this assembly out like this. Okay, there's a couple little catches here. Just release those catches and the mechanism slides up. And it should slide up and out. We should be able to lift the whole chassis out now. Okay. And even if I fix the loading problem, I still may not have I still may have a read problem on this thing, because when the disc was in, it did come up and say disk error. So it wasn't reading the disc either. But we'll tackle one problem at a time. See if I can get the thing to load the disc, and then we'll deal with it reading. It may have a bad laser assembly, or it just may be dirty. But it wasn't, when the disc was in there, it wasn't reading it. Finally, the mechanism lifts out. It was, I guess there's some little catches in here that it was caught up on, and I just wiggled it a bit, and out it popped. So this is the piece that I'm having a problem with. Yeah, this is stinking suspicion that why this was jamming is there's a little curtain on here that goes up when there's a disc inside it. And it's supposed to be spring loaded. It pops up on its own, and the mechanism pulls it down when there's no disc in. And the lever was bent that controls that. It's on a little metal lever here that hooks up to a little plastic arm, and it keeps sticking. So I think what I'll try is I'm going to try reassembling this thing with that lever removed, because that may have been what was jamming the mechanism, and it would jam it every time it tried to operate that curtain that just raises a little metal shutter to tell you there's a disc inside. Don't really need the operation of that. I think if I was going to use this thing, I would know if there was a disc in it or not. So let's try and reassemble this thing and see if we get any luck with this mechanism, with removing that little lever that operates that curtain. So reassembly goes back the opposite way of taking it out. This side goes in first because there's a little tab over here that has to drop into this. There's a little pin here that has to go into this space. So that side goes in first, and then we should be able to lower down this side, line up the shock absorbers into their appropriate slots and push them down into place. Whoops. So I've got the chassis mounted back in place. We'll just try reconnecting the connectors and see whether this thing's going to load up a disc. I guess before I put that connector on, I should clear the short that I placed onto the laser diode. So basically to do that, we just heat our soldering iron up and just quickly break the bridge connection. Well, the good news is the mechanism at least loads a disc now, but the bad news is we have a laser problem. Table of contents reading, disc error. I know the disc plays because I played it on my other one. Unfortunately, the optical pickup on this unit is not working. So I think I'll probably call it a day there. I got the mechanism unjammed, but we already have an optical problem. And I was getting that error before I was able to unjam the mechanism, but the mechanism itself, I think the cause of it was that shutter on the front that closes up when you put a disc in. It says disc is inside, and just a little metal shutter was getting stuck, and that was what was causing the gears to slip there. But we do have a problem with the optical pickup. I'm going to take the disc out here, maybe we just clean the lens, but I didn't see any dust or dirt on it. It must be the pickup that's bad itself. Well, isn't this interesting? This is a pre-recorded Minidisc. And you can see that it's playing this pre-recorded Minidisc. No problem. This is one of the few Minidiscs that was actually released as a stamped disc. And it's playing Oops. It's playing that disc. Right, so I was able to play that disc. But I couldn't play one that I recorded myself. So there it's playing the pre-recorded disc again. And you can see, zoom in here so you can see it. Even tells you the name of the song that's playing. And if I activate the switches here to go to the next track, where is it? Is it that one? Which buttons are which? I gotta figure out which one's a search. Oh, here they are. That's why. Skip. There we go. Number 2. Right. So it's able to access all the tracks. So it is working, but it's only playing pre-recorded discs. If I put a disc in that I recorded on my other machine, it's rejecting and it's coming up with disc error. So we do have a weak laser problem on this one here, and because of the weak laser problem and the fact that this thing is very, very old, I'm not gonna stand much chance of getting any parts to try and do anything more with this than we already have. So there we have it, the Minidisc. This is the MZ2P, the playback only machine. As you can see, we have it playing. So now it's just time to put this thing back together, which I'm going to do. And again, because it's not playing self-recorded discs, I'm just going to be putting this thing back in a drawer and let it sit there for nostalgia, just to keep the thing, because again, it is kind of a collector's item. Putting these things back together is it's like putting together a big jigsaw puzzle. You got all these little parts that have to go in place just exactly in the right order, and everything just kind of snaps and clips together. Not that it matters, because this thing won't play. It's not going to play discs that I've recorded on my other machines, and I actually only own one Minidisc. What's that? Copy from 5440. Dear Dear, their big album. 5440 is a huge band in Canada here, and I just happen to know one of the members of the band too. He is married to a lady that I went to school with all the way from grade 1 all the way through grade 12, and he lives in my town here too, so I've met one of the members a few times, and next time I see him, I'm going to ask him if he will sign this copy of this disc, because being a mini disc, it's probably pretty valuable, considering that they didn't make very many pre-recorded mini discs. That's how they go back together. Put the remaining screws in it, and then we'll move on to the MZ1. I was thinking of making the MZ1 a separate video, but since the MZ1 is working, it's more going to be a demonstration. We'll do some recording and playing on it and play around with it a bit. So we'll do that on this video as soon as this one's back together. So this one's the MZ1. As I say, this one is working. If I put a disc in here, it will play. Trust me. Okay, now it's made a liar out of me. Might help if I actually plug the power cord in properly. Okay, so this is the same disc. And if I press play, this one will play. Again, this is a pre-recorded. And of course, this one will also record and play on the rewritable discs. which I happen to have a few here. I don't know what's on these, so I'm going to find out pretty quick. And I haven't listened to any of these discs in forever. Oh, Aldi Meola. Can't erase this one. Definitely can't erase that disc. I got some great stuff recorded on Minidisc, so it's don't want to play too much of that because I don't want to get into trouble. This one says foobar will not record, but I think I fixed that problem with that disc the last time we looked at the MZ302 home deck, because I found that some of my discs, I used these in a car. I had a car player in my car, and oh, table of content error. Maybe this disc is screwed. But I remember I ran into some discs that I had to clean. I had to blow air into them, and it made them playable. Just that were not playing prior. Let's just see if this will actually read this disc. Yeah, it's playing. So I want to make sure I don't play more than 10 seconds, as that's when they tend to get a bit snitty about copyright. So I'm going to see if I can find a disc that I'm actually able to erase. I don't want to erase any of these discs that have got good stuff on them, just because all of them are mixed discs and they were recorded in real time. And now I have a player I can actually play them on, a portable one, in addition to my 302 home deck, which is hooked up inside the house. Let me see if I can find another disc here. We'll try and do a quick recording on this thing. My cat likes this thing. Enough of that. Cat's getting into music here. Cat's making music of its own. Get out of here. Go. Can't ever get any work done with this cat. So in order to make this recording, I'm going to, I've got my DAT machine here. This one here is heading out the door tonight. I've actually got it sold. This is my 790 that I've now sold. And I'm just using it for playback here before the fella comes over to pick it up for me, because I have too many DAT decks. I decided to liquidate some, but I'm going to use this as a source for testing this machine. I'm just putting it into record. I think it's record pause. It has to go in. There we go. Okay. Set my recording level up. I got a recording level control on the side here. And we need to make sure that we're not going over. That's a bad sign if it says over. That means we're into distortion. So I'm just going to turn the recording level down. We don't want to go into over. So there we go. We'll turn it down. I got like 3 minutes left on this disc. We'll hit record and record. So we're doing a little recording here from the DAT player. We'll record it onto this mini disc and then we'll play it back. This was just a disc that had some space left on it, so we'll record a track here and then I can edit it and erase it. So okay, we've recorded about, what, 30 seconds I guess now. That's good enough. We'll stop it. I don't want to leave the music play because I don't need any copyright hits. So we'll stop it. It is now going to edit the table of contents. It actually doesn't write the table of contents until you hit the eject button. But if I hit play, we should be able to play that track back now. And there it is. Right now, I can hit pause. If I want to edit, there's a switch on the front. So I can hit the little edit switch on the front here, and that'll let me, I may have to do it when I'm playing. It's been a long time since I've used this thing. Play it. If I hit edit, combine, divide, erase, disc name, track name. Good. And how do I advance? I think I press, oh, I know what to do. I have to, I can enter the name of the tracks here using these buttons on the front. So if I want to just write down test track, I just hit T. And to move forward, I hit enter. Nope. Correction. If I press it again, it's going to enter it. I don't want to write this, so I want to just go back and do something else on here. Skip the forward. Okay, test track. T, E, est, T. And then that's all I'm going to write. Just test. Enter, enter. Now it's written. If I stop it, it'll write that to the disk. There it is. It's writing the table of contents. So now when I start playing it, if I go to track number 15, there's my test track. Now if I want to erase that, if I want to erase the track, I just hit the edit button on the front here again. If I combine, divide, erase, enter. It says enter again to erase. Now I've just erased that track. And as soon as I stop it, it'll write the table of contents, and now that track is gone. That's how this mini disc unit here works. So it finishes flashing. This one is fully functional. It's beat up because I used to carry this around in my car. Before I got the in-dash, I actually had a mounting bracket for this thing. I used to carry this thing in my car. It was great. One of the neat things about Minidisc, I'm just going to check how much time I've got left here on my tape, because I think I'm down to about 3 minutes on my memory. But check this out. They had a shockproof memory. So unlike CDs that would skip, not so. You can beat the crap out of this thing. It won't skip. It was perfect format for mobile because it's almost impossible to make it skip. You actually have to shake the hell out of it for several seconds. There's a 5-second buffer, so if I beat the crap out of this thing for 5 or so seconds, I should be able to make it skip. Let's try. Let's see how long the buffer is good for, okay? Here we go. Okay, there. I managed to cause the buffer to run out, but I really had to violently shake that thing to make it do that. I actually stopped it from playing. But I mean, that was pretty extreme. If you were a jogger and you're using one of these things for playback, you know, the everyday jostling around, it's going to play just fine. As you can see here, no problem. These things could really take abuse. It was a wonderful format for a disc-based format for portable use. I mean, this thing's huge by today's standards, but still, this was the first generation. This was the mini disc that started it for everybody. There it is, the MZ1 Sony recordable mini disc recorder player. Hope you enjoyed this video. Bye.